The Summer Davos Forum has been held in China for 13 years. Yesterday, I had a conversation with Professor Schwab, during which we together reviewed how we discussed the launch of such a forum 13 years ago in Dalian. It was a time when a new round of industrial revolution was on the rise. Economic globalization was picking up speed. And we were confronted with the common task of how to respond to these new dynamics. We were thinking what would be a fitting positioning of the forum to respond to the greater diversity of market players, market demand, new and emerging industries, technologies, as well as business models. At such a juncture, we must come up with new approaches and measures. To drive economic growth, we need to rely on the strength of market players. Among all these market players, we would like to see continued pursuit of excellence on the part of big companies. And at the same time, and even more importantly, we would like to see a greater number of small and medium-sized growth enterprises to strive for stronger growth by riding the wave of our time so that we can adapt ourselves to the fast shifting dynamics in the international industrial landscape. And that is how we identified the theme of new champions for the Summer Davos Forum. And I believe this is still highly relevant today. As we look back over the past 13 years, we can see that quite a number of growth enterprises present at the Summer Davos Forum have become strong, bigger companies, and they have enjoyed inclusive development amidst a very big market. And I believe it is the job of the Summer Davos Forum to offer them such a platform, offer all types of market players such a platform, especially those with new ideas and new technologies, and those who are in the midst of growth and of small and medium size, giving them an opportunity to compete on a level playing field with bigger companies for common progress and prosperity. As we discuss how we should better cope with economic globalization and better harness the strength of growth enterprises, we believe doing so will give us stronger optimism and confidence on our way ahead. I understand economic globalization will be featured prominently in the discussions of this year's annual meeting. This is a highly relevant topic. In his important remarks at the G20 Osaka summit held last week, President Xi Jinping of China further elaborated on China's position and propositions on economic globalization and reaffirmed China's readiness to work with the international community in steering economic globalization in the right direction. There has been much discussion about globalization in the international arena in recent times. I think first and foremost, we need to recognize that globalization has made it possible for us to offer consumers more options, producers the opportunities to pursue innovation and new technologies, new forms of business, and new business models. Globalization has also helped promote international division of labor and made it possible for countries to leverage their respective strengths. I think it's fair to say that all have benefited in this process. The latest round of industrial revolution born in the age of globalization has closely knitted together global industrial innovation and value chains thanks to the ubiquitous networked platforms. This has not only injected fresh impetus into world economic growth, but also lowered the threshold for access, presenting more opportunities for all participants. We now live in a world of profound interdependence. Countries rely on each other's markets. No country can single-handedly provide all resources and factors of innovation for producers or offer all needed goods and services to consumers, nor can any country sustain its development in isolation from the global system of division of labor. Having said that, we need to acknowledge the problems that have arisen in the course of globalization. That is, lack of inclusiveness, such as inequality in opportunity, uneven benefit distribution, and shocks to traditional industries and jobs. For these issues, we need to make comprehensive and in-depth analyses. We cannot simplistically make a scapegoat of economic globalization. That would not help us resolve the problem. Instead, we need to follow the trend of globalization and promote free trade and investment, liberalization and facilitation. We need to promote equal rights, equal opportunities, and fair rules, and improve institutional arrangements on that basis so that we can guide globalization in the direction of mutually beneficial, balanced, and inclusive development. Risks facing the global economy have arisen to a certain extent. There is a slowdown in international trade and investment. There is a rise of protectionism. And there is a growing uncertainties and destabilizing factors. We all need to take proactive measures to cope with them. Some countries have taken measures to cut interest rates or send out a clear-cut signal of quantitative easing. We believe that we need to draw upon past experience and lessons. About a decade ago, we enhanced our coordination on macroeconomic policies and tackled the global financial crisis hand in hand, and we must draw lessons and experience from that. The short and long-term effects of the quantitative easing and excessive money supply adopted in the wake of the crisis should also be evaluated. In the face of slowing global growth, we believe we must live the spirit of partnership. As we are partners or passengers in the same boat, we need to have equal consultations, seek common ground while shelving or managing our differences, and forge synergies. The rules-based WTO-centered multilateral trading regime is the bedrock of economic globalization and free trade, and an important underpinning for steady global growth. Its authority and efficacy should be respected and safeguarded. China supports reforming the WTO as necessary. Nevertheless, its fundamental principles, such as free trade, should be upheld. And the WTO should not waver in fulfilling its mission of opening markets and promoting development. And it must undertake efforts conducive to narrowing the development gap and North-South divide, to integrate more countries into this trend and promote inclusive development. With inclusive development, we will be able to achieve win-win results. Under the new champions theme of our forum, one of the key purposes is to promote inclusive development. Ladies and gentlemen, in the past 40-plus years of reform and opening up, China has shared opportunities and benefits with other countries through opening up and actively integrated itself into the international division of labor and global industrial innovation and value chains. In this process, China endured huge pressure, paid high prices, and experienced a lot of pain. But we saw globalization as an irreversible trend and never lost sight of the general direction of integrating into the global economy. We stood firm in the face of all difficulties, and it has been borne out that our efforts have paid off, benefiting not just China, but also the rest of the world. The past 4 decades and more have also seen China open itself further to the world and fully honor its commitments. China has been introducing more opening up measures. Its opening up process has been going forward. China will remain committed to all-round opening up and building an open economy of a higher standard. We will advance the opening up of the manufacturing sector by following through on the commitment to ease foreign equity restrictions, such as in the auto industry, encouraging foreign investment in high-quality manufacturing, and supporting foreign businesses in investing in advanced manufacturing, such as electronics and information technology, equipment manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, and new materials. Foreign businesses making such investments will be eligible for preferential treatment in terms of import of self-use equipment, corporate income tax, and land use. It is fair to say that China's manufacturing sector has been fully opened up. In some key areas which are of great interest to foreign investors, restrictions on foreign ownership will be further eased. At the same time, we will further open up financial services and modern services. We will move up the lifting of foreign ownership caps in securities, futures, and life insurance from 2021 to 2020, 1 year ahead of schedule. This shows China's commitment to opening up and generating more opportunities in these related areas. And this is also China showing to the rest of the world that we are determined to carry forward our opening up in the services sector. Our opening up pace will only be accelerated. Restrictions on foreign investment in value-added telecommunication services will also be reduced in 2020. Foreign-funded institutions will receive national treatment in credit investigation, credit rating, and payment. Two-way opening of the bond market will be expanded. In this process, we have the confidence that the RMB exchange rate will remain broadly stable at an adaptive and equilibrium level. The reform of the exchange rate mechanism and the convertibility of the RMB under capital accounts will be taken forward in a steady manner. China will not go for competitive devaluation of its currency. China will continue to cut overall tariffs voluntarily, remove non-tariff barriers, actively increase the import of goods and services, and enhance import facilitation. We will further improve laws and regulations concerning opening up and expedite the drafting of supporting rules and regulations for the foreign investment law.
Meanwhile, we will eliminate those laws and regulations inconsistent with reform and opening up, and we will complete this task by the end of this year. And these measures will take effect along with the foreign investment law on January the 1st, 2020. This requires us to formulate supporting regulations and laws of the foreign investment law. We would also move faster to sort out laws and regulations inconsistent with the foreign investment law. So our direction is to shorten the negative list, and we are also open up more areas for foreign investment. That is the general trend. And we are implementing a negative list for foreign investment. That means the sectors will be open unless they are on the list. Next year, we will carry out such policies nationwide. In this process, foreign investors may still see all kinds of barriers, but these are problems in the course of our efforts to advance opening up and reform, and we will address these problems to further open Chinese markets wider. But of course, in the process opening up, we will strengthen IPR protection and introduce a punitive compensation mechanism to crack down hard on all kinds of infringements and counterfeiting. Efforts in all the above areas will make China even more open, transparent, and predictable for foreign investment and improve the overall investment environment in this country. The world economy stands to benefit from a more open China. Ladies and gentlemen, as we head into the second half of this year, the performance of the Chinese economy may be a topic of great interest to many of you. On the whole, the Chinese economy in the first half of this year has registered steady growth and has been operating within a proper range. And to stay in a proper range, we need relatively full employment. So far, the surveyed unemployment rate stabilized at around 5%, a relatively low level. And the high-tech manufacturing industry and strategic emerging industries grow faster than the entire industrial sector. The service sector is growing faster than other sectors. Let me give you some statistics. In the first 5 months, the average number of newly registered businesses has risen substantially to 18,900 every year. But of course, there are some companies emerging and perishing every day. But the number of newly established companies is much higher than those driven out of the market. The enterprise vitality rate is about 70%. This means that the market entities are vibrant and they are confident about the market. That being said, the Chinese economy is not without its pressure, and it does face some downward pressure, including growing uncertainties and destabilizing factors. This is affecting some businesses, exports, in particular, market expectations. Slowing growth in effective domestic investment has added to the difficulty in maintaining stable economic performance. Well, we have long seen challenges coming and have been making full preparations by taking proactive measures to tackle head-on the complex and difficulties, both at home and externally, by cutting taxes and fees. We are confident because the Chinese market is huge, with rich human resources, full-fledged industrial system, dynamic expansion of new growth drivers. So the economy is resilient, it has great potential and flexibility, which is sufficient to sustain a sound development for the long term. In the coming months and years, we'll continue to focus on economic growth and development as China's top priority. We'll continue to follow the guiding principle of pursuing progress while ensuring stability, promote steady growth, reform, adjustment of structure, higher living standards, and guard against risks while ensuring stability. Given China's economic size, our growth target is now set at 6 to 6.5%. So this growth rate in itself is big progress. Among all the main economies in the world, China is still one of the fastest growing economies. What we need to do is to deliver on the macro policies that have been introduced, including proactive fiscal policies and tax and fee cuts. Since we have rolled out the policies and made the policies and rolled out the lists, we need to deliver. When it comes to monetary policy, we need to ensure adaptive monetary policy and ensure anticipatory adjustment and fine-tuning. We will refrain from massive stimulus measures and the negative approaches that would affect China's future economic growth. Instead, we need to tap into the reasonable areas of growth for the Chinese economy. Reform is the fundamental driving force of development. It is aimed at improving the business environment. We need to build a market-oriented, law-based, and world-class business environment. By promoting market-oriented development, we need to overcome the regulations and barriers, the regulations inconsistent with development of the economy, and give a better play to the role of the government. By promoting law-based business environment, it means that we need to ensure that a level playing field will be guaranteed. To protect the lawful rights and interests and ensure that our market regulation is impartial so that all companies at home and abroad and all companies under all types of ownership will enjoy a level playing field and a fair business environment. By promoting a world-class business environment, it means that we will further open up and our business environment will be aligned with international rules and standards. so that foreign investors will have a more clear and predictable environment for their development. China has a huge market. It requires the participation of both large companies as well as SMEs, not least the new champions. Because for China to develop, it needs to ensure relatively full employment. We have a labor force of around 900 million. Every year, about 15 million new jobs will need to be added at the urban areas. Yesterday, I visited a top Chinese university in Dalian. They have graduates from the all the way to the PhD degrees. Some of them will go to private companies and some of them will go to foreign companies. So they can really support the job market to a very large extent. What we need to do now is to treat equally the state-owned enterprises, private companies, and foreign invested companies. They will all be entitled to tax and fee cuts, to IPR protection. And I also want to mention that among the 11 million 110 million market players, there are 76 million plus self-employed traders, creating about 200 million jobs. We have more than 30 million small and medium-sized enterprises, 90% of which are medium, small, and micro businesses. We need to not only provide them with a level playing field, but also necessary benefits. I know these companies face some difficulties in accessing affordable financing. We need to adopt targeted cuts in required reserve ratios and targeted lending. We need to help lower the financing costs for SMEs this year and work vigorously to promote policies and foster an environment beneficial for the development of SMEs and private companies, provide them with fiscal support and financing support, and remove the implicit barriers for supporting SMEs. Yesterday, when I visited a deep water port in Dalian, and I saw great potential of that port of developing a large-scale petroleum company. At that port, we already see a private company with a oil project worth 20 million yuan, and the private companies are competing fairly with the SOEs. We hope that in such fair competition, the better competitors will prevail. So we need to ensure market vitality and cement the foundation of the steady growth of the Chinese economy. And development is also aimed at improving people's lives. And their aspiration for a better life underpins our endeavors. We need to work to foster a healthy cycle of economic growth and higher living standards for the people. China has about 100 million market players and a population of 1.4 billion. The higher living standards will produce huge market demand, especially in the services sector. So we need to promote infrastructure improvement in the urban areas and the development of the services industry to meet the diverse needs of the people.
We need to rely on market forces in achieving these goals, and the government is to play a guiding role. The purpose of our endeavors in pursuit of development is to deliver a better life for our people, and when their lives are improved, it will generate tremendous market opportunities. So we must pursue openness, inclusiveness, and win-win. And that is the experience we have drawn from our own course of development, and we believe that it is also highly relevant and applicable for global development. We hope that globalization will become more open, mutually beneficial, delivering benefits to all. When we gather again for the Summer Davos Forum next year, what we hope is that we will be able to see greater success on the part of those long-standing big companies, and hopefully we will also be able to see the growth of smaller companies becoming gazelle companies or unicorn companies, and the forum needs to serve as a platform for all of them. I want to say to all the participants today, whether you represent big companies or smaller firms, we hope there will be a level playing field for all of you. And we have confidence that all companies, especially those from those growth companies, more new champions will emerge. In the course of globalization, we hope that all will have access to more equal opportunities for development, for upward social mobility. I wish, in conclusion, the annual meeting this year a full success.